in some cases, you want to get your second degree, the master's degree, and there's evidence. And I have met a couple of colleagues who insisted on getting their third degree, the PhD, before they got married. That means that they're postponing the age at first marriage. People are getting married now between 40 and 45 because they want to push certain obstacles off the way to clear the road, and then they can settle down and have their families and look after them competently. Maybe you want to think about this for yourself. Don't be in a rush to get married. Take your time. Make sure you're properly ready before you get into it. It's not only education, but apprenticeship as well. People want to get into carpentry. They want to finish before they settle down. Or other apprenticeship, they want to auto mechanics. They want to finish before they settle down. In the process, the educational institution like the university and the workshop, they become marriage markets for those who are in the process of postponing. You will meet a girl on the university campus, and that could probably be your wife. You probably meet some girl in the workshop who probably came to shop around for some of the goods that you're producing, and that girl could be your future wife. So the educational institution and the workshop, they have become marriage markets. Now, the stability of the family, there have been a number of factors which explain the reason why families are basically splitting up nowadays. First, we can speak about geographical mobility. Research has established that in urban areas, well, people work in institutions like in a bank, like in the ministries, like any other place that's a corporate organization. And occasionally you might find yourself having to go outside of your location. If you're in Accra, you may have to travel to Kumasi or to Cape Coast or to Takoradi for about a week or 2 weeks attending a conference or a workshop. Now, as you were there as a man or as a woman, because of the existence of birth control devices, particularly the research was carried out when condoms were in use. The condom is able to prevent pregnancy. So because you have that birth control device, you want to become adventurous. You want to look for local girls who may satisfy your sex drive, either you're a man or a woman. In the process of your adventures, you are likely to come across this particular girl who is so good in bed, is so absolutely exciting in bed, is so terrific in bed. So when you return eventually back home, you meet your wife, and you're constantly remembering that Cape Coast girl, that Takoradi girl, that Kumasi girl who was so good. So the least argument that your wife brings up is magnified. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. You magnify the argument because you're constantly thinking about that girl who was so good in bed, and you wish that you can replace your wife with that girl. When it becomes completely intolerable for the man or for the woman as the arguments keep on being magnified, there may be a divorce because of geographical mobility, which leads to adventure and the fact that some men are going to find some exciting girls on their treks outside. Some women are going to find some exciting guys on their treks outside. And the constant thinking of these exciting people can bring about a split or divorce in a marriage. Now, we have the absence of supernatural supervision as a factor of the instability in marriages in the urban communities. In the traditional areas, one of the reasons why marriages lasted for quite long is because of the fear in the women, that the men are practicing some magical religious mechanisms which can expose the wife if she defiles the marriage bed. We can make reference to the Hexes of Chastity. For example, we have the fiatically, which is used by men when they suspect that their wives are flirting outside. The fiatically is able to make the husband catch the wife red-handed, because in the process of making love to, in the process of committing adultery, let's put it that way, the man is unable to extract himself from the woman because he's locked up in the woman, just like you see dogs just like dogs do. So in that position, they would be caught red-handed, and there have to be some rituals which are performed to release the two of them. So women in the traditional areas, they're aware of these practices, and they make sure that they don't get into trouble. Another example is the psychic padlock, which are used by men to lock up their wives so that no one else can penetrate the wives. No one else can make love to the wives except they themselves. Well, if you ask me, that's about the best. If you lock up the woman, you can go to sleep, or you can travel. And so that is one way of ensuring that the marital bed is still very clean. And then we can talk about adema, or the so-called bolo makba, which is often buried in the compound of the house. And if you're a woman and you live in that compound house, and you leave the compound house to go and commit adultery outside, you cannot re-enter your home. You will be arrested at the entrance, spiritually arrested. And if you do not confess to your husband what you did, you will be there, and in about 5 minutes, you will start taking off your clothes, and you expose yourself completely naked. And that is another way of ensuring that women in the traditional areas remain faithful to their husbands. But nowadays in the urban areas, these things have basically disappeared. Or you occasionally may read about, particularly the fiatically. I read about that not too long ago in this newspaper called, I've forgotten the name of the newspaper. Yeah, but there was an incident like that. But this is very far-flung. So those hexes of chastity are not very much in practice in the urban communities. So basically, they don't control the fidelity of the women. What is the meaning? The meaning is that women feel a little bit free to be on sexual adventures, and that could lead to the fact that they come into loggerheads with their husbands, and that could lead to a breakup of the marriage. Next, we look at the mixed uninvestigated marriages. This is a situation where you're going to get married to a girl. Traditionally speaking, your parents would have to investigate the background of that girl to find out if she's from a good home, if there is fertility in the family, or there is infertility in the family, if there are some transmissible or inheritable diseases in the family, if there's witchcraft in the family. They investigate all of that before they will tell you that this is a person we're satisfied with, you can go ahead and marry her. But nowadays, most of the marriages in the urban community remain uninvestigated. You may meet this guy from Takoradi on the Legon campus, or you're a girl and you meet this guy from Wale Wale in the northern region. If you're not careful to investigate the background of that girl and you get married, only 1 month afterwards for you to discover that that guy is a wizard or that woman is a witch, the marriage is going to break up. or you don't find out that there's infertility in that particular family, only for you after 1 year to find out that people from that family don't easily have children, then the marriage will break up. So I mean, just take notice of all of these things. The things that we are discussing in this urban sociology are things that affect your life directly. And you want to make sure that if you're going to get married, you want to investigate the background of that person to establish that you're not going to get into trouble. I've often heard girls speaking about their bae. I think they refer to it as before all else. You know what? If you don't investigate the background of that guy before you start calling her your bae, your bae, your bae, before all things else, make sure that he is or she is from a great home. Otherwise, you get married and the marriage is going to break down, break up within a short period. That's a part of the problem in the urban communities, mixed, uninvestigated marriages. And then the economic emancipation of women is another factor which explains a lot the problem between men and women in the urban communities. The women are getting economically emancipated in the sense that they become educated, they're well qualified, they have good jobs, or they're into all kinds of businesses or trading. And a lot of the times they earn more income than their husbands. In traditional communities, the woman depended on the man for her, accessories, if you like. The man has to buy the shoes, man has to buy the jewelry, man has to buy the clothing and the handkerchief. All of these things are provided by the man. So women are dependent on the man. But here in the urban communities, the women are completely financially independent. And they're even getting more income than you, the husband, is getting. What is the meaning of that? The woman is no longer, or does not any longer feel obligated to be dependent on you or to be respectful to you. Because what it takes to be dependent on you is no longer there. So if you're in a marriage with a woman who is economically emancipated, you want to play a cool game. You do not want to annoy her to the extent that she's going to tell you that, listen, I don't depend on you for anything. So if you are not going to support yourself, I'm leaving. That basically is what is happening in the urban areas now, and to a large extent explain the stability of the family. Polygyny is on a decline, mainly because, number one, Christianity, those who have been converted to Christianity are supposed to be married to only one man. Nothing beyond that. In the traditional areas, polygyny is a source of prestige. You get married to 2 women, 3 women, 4 women, and each of these women are going to have a number of children for you. So you have a lot of children, and they start boasting that they have so many children. And but in the urban areas, it's almost like committing suicide by having 5 women as your wife. They're going to give, each of them is going to give you 4 children. That means that you have 20 children. How are you able to look after those in terms of paying their school fees, in terms of feeding them, in terms of healthcare delivery? Even if you're a businessman earning so much income, it is absolutely not doable. So polygyny is on the decline because of the inadequacy of incomes in the urban areas and because of Christianity. The nucleation of the family is again a product of inadequate income for families in the urban areas. They're so much overwhelmed by all the utility bills that they have to pay that they do not have much to send out to their kinsmen in the rural areas. If you have any left over you want to send, you don't send it to your cousins or uncles or aunties or nephews, you send it to your mother and father, period. You compress your genealogical ties in kinship behavior to focus on your nuclear family, because that is what, after all, you can afford to cater for. So these are some of the major significant changes affecting the family in the urban community.